Good evening and welcome to the third episode of Paranormal Perspectives. I'm Tracey.
And I'm Elle.
And tonight we'll be with you for the next 30 minutes to talk about all things paranormal. Now, just a quick message. This is our third episode, but on our first episode on 999am, they actually played the wrong recording. So anybody that listens through the AM station 999, if you want to catch up on our actual proper first episode, it is available on demand. It's on our Facebook page as well. If you look for Paranormal Journeys and Investigations, there's a link there. It's on our YouTube channel of the same name, Paranormal Journeys and Investigations. And hopefully then you'll be able to catch up and hear the correct first episode. Now, all of you that listen online, you have been played the right recordings, so you don't need to catch up there. On 999am last week, you would have heard us talking about Ouija boards, etc., and you would have missed the first half of that conversation because that was on episode 1. With that out of the way, right, tonight, Al, how would you like to talk about photography? You do a lot of this photography for our team. How do you find that?
I find it really good. It could be quite challenging. It could be, I think, quite eye-opening as well, especially when you go into a location you haven't been before, you don't know what you're going to be facing, don't know what things are going to sort of influence how the photos are going to turn out. Are there street lights? Are there a lot of bugs flying around? All sorts of things like that.
And do you prefer when we're investigating during the day or at night? What's your preference?
I do prefer at night time because I guess it allows you to open up and see what's available around you, not really focusing on what you can see, because during the day it's quite easy to go out there and photograph things. I like the challenge, and I think nighttime is my favourite.
You'd be quite distracted during the day, wouldn't you, with things going on around you?
Yes, you'll find there are random people walking out in the distance and cars and animals and all sorts of things during the day.
And during the day, does the sunlight or even cloud or fog, can that interrupt a photo being taken when we're investigating?
Full sunlight is a pain for every photographer. You'll get, if you've got the lens facing a certain angle towards the light, you'll get the sun flare coming through. Especially those who are not into taking photographs full time, they'll notice that they'll see like an orb in there, but it's actually just a sun glare. You're having to explain that to people. Yeah, that's the issues that you face with not having clouds there. Full cloud cover is better, okay, because it sort of takes away that big brightness of things. Rain is a real nightmare. So I'm happy when we're investigating that we're actually inside.
Yeah. I do know that I noticed if we're doing an investigation at night outside, you've got to be careful if there's moisture in the air. Like that can come across as like catching a mist or a apparition, I suppose, too. It can definitely interrupt our photography. I do know there's one investigation there I couldn't actually use any of the photos. You don't notice so much at the time when you're taking the photo, but when we're going through the evidence later, it's a nightmare.
Yes, especially when the weather is quite cold. You may not notice your breath appearing, but in the photograph, you'll actually see what looks like this mist coming through. It's actually your breath. Or it could be someone who's walking past you, breathing out. You'll find, even if it's you don't feel rain, but it's just spitting slightly, and that can land on the lens and cause an effect in the photograph that actually looks like there's distortion in there.
Yeah. Is there any benefits to doing an investigation during the day?
During the day, you can see exactly what you're photographing, because at night time, when you're photographing, you don't see For example, if you walk into a room during the day, you can see what things are in there. So if there's an air conditioning machine there going, or it's been turned off, vents that allow dust to come through, you can actually see, okay, there's a vent in there that's allowing wind to come through, which is allowing dust particles. I've got to be aware of that. While at night time, when you come in, you take a photograph, you're basically taking a photograph in the darkness. So you're pointing the lens anywhere, and at night time you can't see if there's an open window. So especially when we go into an investigation, I go for a wander around. I go and check to see if there's a window open or anything like that. During the day, you're already aware what's happening. You can see, over in that corner, there's a window open, there's gaps in the window. We can go and sort that out.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and it's also, I suppose, telling the difference between what could be an orb and what could be a bug.
Yes.
If you're interested in that side of things, we do actually have some photos that point out. There's one there on our Facebook page that shows you the difference between like what could be an orb and what could be a bug. There's one that could have been taken as being an apparition or like a spirit forming, but it actually ended up being, like Al said, some sun glare off a street light. Definitely, you've got your challenges there when you're doing photography for an investigation. Speaking of investigations, you haven't actually been with us that long, Al. What would it be, about 6-7 months maybe?
Yeah, about 7 months. So
how do you feel so far about our investigations?
It's been an absolute adventure. Because most of us, we all start off watching TV shows like Ghost Adventures and things like that, and you see all that hype. But then when you go into it, you realise it's not that. It's quite in depth. You go in and you set it all up, and then you realise, this is actually what you enjoy doing. It's not. When I first went in, I was a bit nervous, and I was unaware of what was going to happen. But the time when that voice came over, that little child's voice, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in. I'm totally in, and I've loved it ever since. So.
Because we heard this voice without, I think I might have mentioned it in a previous episode, but we all heard it with our naked ear when we were having our coffee break, actually, and it said, "Hello, Dave." And that was probably pretty good for a first investigation.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I just get so excited, especially when the messages come through. We've got an investigation, someone wants us to come and have a look at their home. I'm like, yes, I'm in. My husband, hurry up, get home so I can get out.
Yeah, and as we were talking actually in the car on the way here, Ellen and I were discussing, like we said in a lot of the TV shows, you see all the hype, etc. But at the end of the investigation, they don't normally actually offer to help the owners of the home or the office, etc. Maybe to do a house cleanse if they have found that there is something going on there. But that's definitely something we offer, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Yes,
yeah. We don't just leave the clients hanging. Oh, no. Yeah, you've got something happening here. We're going to go home now.
No, that's what I think I enjoy about paranormal investigation and journeys. It's because you can go in and hear their stories and you feel for them because you want to be able to go home and relax. But if they're feeling things there that are making them uncomfortable, you don't just go in there, say, yes, you do have this, but then you don't help them because it's not making things easier for them. It's actually just giving you something to do.
Yeah, and it could actually, I suppose, rack up the energy, couldn't it? And then we're just walking away, leaving them to deal with the unknown to them. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Now, you also actually enjoy coming out with me. I don't think I've mentioned yet that we do a bit of what they call urbex, which is urban exploration. That's when you go to old, like abandoned homes or buildings or even any kind of man-made structure, and you just document the history of it through photography. What is it that you actually like about that? Like, I know that we go and find a lot of old abandoned homes and go and just take a whole lot of photos because to us it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yes. For me, when I go into an abandoned building or a home, it's like the place has stopped in time. Like everything's just frozen. And you go in and you look at, I don't know, an old chair sitting in the corner, and you think about, what that chair's been through, if it had eyes, what it's seen. Just that history. I love history.
Untold stories. Yeah, and one thing with urban exploration, you definitely, we don't anyway, we don't break in.
No.
We don't actually touch anything. We leave everything where it is, and we only, as I said, document it through photography. We're actually in the process of working with some people to maybe even get a book put together of a lot of the old historic buildings around the Manawatu area. So if any of you out there know of any places that are abandoned, neglected, forgotten, and you'd like to kind of find out about the history and the stories about that building, flick us a email at paranormaljourneys@outlook.com, or just send us a message on Facebook, or even through the Access website. We'd love to really get a good collection together and make this little book for everybody. I think it would be a pretty awesome thing to do. I know that they did one way back I was talking to the mayor, and they did one back in the 90s, so it's definitely been a long time. It can be hard to get into some of these buildings due to health and safety, earthquake-prone buildings, etc. But if we can definitely sort out all that red tape, I think it would be a pretty awesome book to put together. And I know that you'd really enjoy that, wouldn't you, Al?
Absolutely. I just love looking through old photographs and walking past buildings that are empty. You think, love to be able to go in there. So as Tracey said, please let us know, because I would love to come in and photograph it. I personally don't care if it's got sheep running around. I mean, I live in a rural township, and there's animals wandering around the place all the time. So honestly, let us know, and I'll come in and I'll photograph.
Well, there's that house we photographed, and it had a sheep in the paddock, and just for a laugh with one of the photos, you decided to put a red balloon.
Yes.
with the sheep.
Yes. If those didn't understand that horror movie with the balloon.
It was kind of like a type of it meets Silence of the Lambs, I suppose. But yeah, we definitely like to have some fun while we do our little work out there. But right, welcome back to Paranormal Perspectives. Now, I'm here tonight talking with Al, one of our newer team members. Al, you help us set up for our investigations, don't you? Now,
yes.
It's probably no secret that I'm not very technical.
You're getting there.
So what's actually involved in the setup for an investigation? We don't just walk in and start, do we? What do we have to do?
Well, we've got to go in and clear areas that we can set up our little station. We've got screens that we set up for the CCTV, and then we've got to deal with the long, basically cobwebs of wires that come out of the CCTV. We've got to go around and look for areas where we can place it, the cameras, and make sure they're up there. They're not going to fall over. So we have to be quite creative in how we keep things down.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not a cheap passion to have. I do know that a lot of money's been spent on our equipment. So we do have one sponsor that gave us. We've actually got 2 night vision CCTV camera systems. One of them we purchased, but the other one we were given by a sponsor, which we're so thankful for. But yeah, you definitely got to be careful that those cameras aren't going to fall, don't you? Especially being in the dark. As you said, all the webs of wires.
Yes.
We've got to make sure they're out of the way and not trip hazards. The last thing we need is to be communicating with one of our team members through a spirit box. So once we've got everything set up, it's all on, isn't it?
Yes. Because we've got to make sure that the wires are all plugged in correctly as well. So you'll have issues where you've got the camera set up, the wires are connected on both ends, but there's something's going wrong with the communications between them. So we're going to go back through and make sure it's all connected correctly. They're in the right port, everything. We've got to make sure that the camera is secured. It's not going to get easily bumped or wiggled or sort of go off tilter. So we've got to make sure that's nice and straight. It won't be a nice sight going through and all you can see is a corner of a wall or half an image and the rest of it's sort of covered by, I don't know, a book or something like that. So we've got to be careful how we set up.
Yeah, because like the CCTV is really important. For example, if we're in a bedroom doing a voice recording, an EVP voice recording, and we hear like a knock or we hear a bang or a creak, the CCTV comes in really handy then because we'll record the time down, but then we can watch back later on that CCTV recording to see if maybe if it's an old building, maybe there was a mouse that ran past and knocked something, or maybe there was, like you said, a window open somewhere and it's knocked something over. So we can watch back and see when that noise was made, can it be explained? Yes,
especially in the dark time and in an area with a lot of things that are sort of just on the edge of falling over. So we've got to make sure that we connect those time frames. So if I'm sitting there on a chair and I've just moved my foot slightly, we can see on the CCTV camera where, for example, a plank of wood was there and that's slid and knocked something else over and that's called a large banging
Or even
noise.
your foot could have just made a creak, I suppose, in the floorboard.
Yes.
We also need to mark our voice recordings. If I'm doing a voice recording and I hear maybe a car drives past or we're in a building where there is human traffic walking past, we need to say on that voice recording, person walked past the window.
Yes.
So we know if they spoke or once again made footstep noises that it was explained. It was a human doing that, a person doing that. Now, another interesting thing with you, Al, is you're actually quite religious, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
But you don't have a problem being part of a paranormal team, where I do know a lot of people feel that you can't combine the two. So can you just explain that a bit with us?
Well, in some faiths, they've believed that any communications with spirits are demonic or from the evil. And so they try and encourage people to not have any kind of spiritual thing besides having religious faith. For me personally, I've been raised in religion, and but I'm always been quite open with other people, with other viewpoints and things like that.
Other beliefs.
Yeah. Oh, well, a lot of other people too have different life experiences as well, and some are very, as soon as they find out that I'm religious, they sort of put this barrier up and they don't open themselves up more. So they, some people cut back on their languages and swearing, and so you don't really see their personality. But for me, I've always been open to that. I'm a horror fan. I love anything to do with scariness, and as a kid growing up, I've had a few experiences, and you can't say, that my experiences were bad, because one of them was when I was little, swimming in a swimming pool, and I was coming up for air, and next minute I see someone duck their head into the water and smile at me. And then I come out and there's nobody there, and my mum said that I looked as white as a ghost. And then later on, I woke up during the night and there was this dark figure standing on my husband's side of the bed. And because with my faith, I said, you don't belong here, because it was a dark spirit. I said, you do not belong here. I command you to leave. And because when I go to investigations, my way of protecting is prayer. So I use my faith to protect myself. And so that's how I know I'm going to be okay. But with my faith, you do find that there are people who are very shut off to that. My experience of one of the gentlemen were talking at the pulpit, and he was talking about his experiences dealing with the other side. And you can see people looking at each other and rolling their eyes and obviously thinking this guy's got a screw loose.
Yeah.
I don't think that we're all created to have like one set viewpoint on things. And I do know that there are things beyond and with experiences that I have, it's opened my eyes so much. And with the faith I have, I know that I'll see my loved ones again, and I think that's why I enjoy going on investigations and helping other people, just giving them that knowledge there that they're not crazy, that they're not seeing things. We do believe you.
Yeah. And when you were talking about the spirit that was next to your husband that night, how could you kind of tell that it was a dark spirit? Was it a feeling you got, or how the spirit showed itself to you? What was it just like a feeling? It was
a combination of feeling and the way it looked. It looked, you don't, when you hear about people saying, you saw a demonic spirit and they saw horns and the red eyes and blah, blah, blah. For me, my view of it was a dark figure. It was just a dark figure, and it didn't feel right. Years ago, I was outside hanging out washing. Yeah. And I saw a figure, and it was white, leaning against the letterbox, and I felt comfort from that. But this thing, I just did not want it in my house, and so I said leave, and I did. Oh, sorry, it did, and I lay back down, went back to sleep. So
I'll carry on now. I'll go back to sleep now.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, some people, that would be it, wouldn't it? They'd be sleeping in the lounge.
Yeah, or they get the priest coming in, and
Yeah, definitely. I have never seen a spirit that I felt was evil, but I've definitely had the feeling. There has been a couple of places I've gone to investigate, and just getting out the car, it was just a huge sense of negativity, evil, unsafe. So, but I got straight back in the car and I left. I'm not going to put myself or my team in harm's way.
No.
If something doesn't feel good, I'm sorry, but we will help you. Don't get the wrong message. We will help you, but we need to be prepared for that. Everybody needs to be safe. We're not going to put ourselves in danger. We're not going to put our clients in danger. If we don't know what we're dealing with, then we can't help them properly. So we need to definitely have the research side of things done and go in knowing exactly what we're going to be dealing with, hopefully, to a degree, of course. You're not always going to know what you're dealing with, but there definitely is a safety aspect there, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely.
And especially most of our team, we have children at home. We're not going to go and do an investigation, have something evil attached to us and then take it home. Because it's not just about us at the end of the day, it's definitely about our families too.
Yeah, and children are quite susceptible to things like that as well, and we don't want them to sort of have that baggage on their shoulders at such a young age.
Exactly. And we don't go home and sit our kids down and go, hey, mummy just went and did this. It's not something that we're completely open about with our children either, because they're not at ages where they really understand. They don't need to think that mum's been a bit kooky and running out and putting herself in danger either. No. But that's brought us to the end of our show. Hope you guys have enjoyed the last half hour. Don't forget to check out our team, Paranormal Journeys and Investigations. We're based here in Manawatu. You can find us on our Facebook page of the same name. We've also got a website that it actually has a lot of the things we talk about, our photos of investigations. You can find on our YouTube channel, there's recordings of EVPs we've had where we've had voices come through. There's a little bit of CCTV footage there, not much, but definitely check us out. Drop us a line. Let us know if there's anything you'd like us to talk about. If you've got an interesting story, we could even give you a call and have a chat about that. So we look forward to hearing from you all, and we'll catch you all next week.
See ya.
See ya.